Hi, I'm Matt Peters.
And I'm Michi Trota.
And this is Uncanny TV.
Woohoo!
Hi, folks, I'm Matt Peters.
And I'm Michi Trota.
And as we mentioned, this is Uncanny TV. We're here because of you guys, basically.
Yep, you all made this possible when you were funding our Year 5 Kickstarter. There was a stretch goal. There were several for Uncanny TV. So you made this pilot possible. So we wanted to be able to talk to geeks who love using their passions in order to enrich their communities and try some really cool projects. So we have 3 amazing people that we're going to be talking to today.
That's right. We've got some great guests for you guys. We've got Keisha Howard from Sugar Gamers.
And we have Daniel Jung Kim from Pop Mythology.
And we have Dawn Jana Moon, singer-songwriter, and also the founder of Rax Geek.
So just stay tuned. We're going to have some really great conversations.
That's right. All right, folks, tonight our first guest is Keisha Howard of Sugar Gamers. Let's welcome her to our show. Thank you so much for coming.
Let's sit down. Woohoo. It's not like we've never met each other before, right?
Oh my God. Michi is the awesomest.
Aww.
Matt, you're new though.
I am new.
Are you awesome?
I hope I reach that level in your book. So I have several questions.
Oh gosh.
Because
several?
Michi is so familiar with you. I was telling her before the show, I'm so excited to talk to you because it seems like every time I turn on YouTube, and yeah, it's probably an analytic thing as well, your name pops up. Because I'm a huge gamer. I'm a huge nerd.
Yeah, this is not my area of expertise.
But first and foremost, I want to talk about Sugar Gamers a little bit. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, Sugar Gamers is a tech advocacy organization for underserved demographics, specifically in video games. So we do that through media, events, and consulting other companies so they can, market correctly to demographics that they're not usually reaching. So I've been doing this for 10 years, since 2009. So this was pre-Gamergate. so this has been, it's been an interesting journey.
It sounds like, yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you have to use that metric, but I hear exactly what you're saying. Yeah, 10 years is an amazing tenure in doing that sort of thing. So what are some of your favorite moments from those past 10 years?
Oh gosh, there's so many. First, the team that we have is incredible. So like, in order for us to even do Sugar Gamers at all, we need the team. So everyone on our team does really interesting things that are not necessarily normally thought of as like super geek or super gamer. So there's like singer-songwriters, there's corporate UX people, there's tabletop RPG game designers, so on and so forth, and they all sort of come together with their secret ingredients to make what Sugar Gamers is. So, but I guess I would say on these 10 years, fighting robots has definitely been a highlight. And meeting some of the iconic figures like George Lucas and Stan Lee have been great. But then meeting so many of the women in this space that's paving the way for new people and new opportunities to come in has been great.
Like, one of the things that I have always really found interesting about what you do is that you're always passionate about wanting to share resources and use the things that you've learned to give other people tools so that they can do the same thing. One of the things that I know that you do is you work a lot with kids, particularly in underserved communities, to give them encouragement. So I'd love to hear you talk a little bit more about that.
It was really funny, Michi. I was on that show for Robot Combat League, and the editors.
That was on Sci-Fi, right?
Sci-Fi Channel,
okay,
right?
Yeah.
It was an awful show, but it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So no one watched it. But the producers, they would sit me in front of that green screen where you do the recaps or whatever, and she was like, "So you're a mentor, right? People look up to you. You represent people." And I'm just like, I don't want to do all that because what if I'm on Instagram drinking? Like. Why do I have to be a mentor? Why do I have to have this responsibility? And
Mentors deserve to have a drink every now and then.
I felt like I had a couple of more years of embarrassing moments that I didn't want to be factored. But when that show aired, I got so many like schools and different organizations like, hey, you're a black woman fighting robots and technology and video games, so you got to come talk to our class because, these kids haven't seen a representation of themselves and you represent that. And I'm just like, I don't want that responsibility. And I ended up going to that class and I was hooked. I was like, I love kids. I love kids so much. And like, they got me. And like, since then, I just want to give them everything that I have, teach them all the things so they can expedite their path to whatever they see as success for themselves.
That's really cool. It sounds like an origin story from Miss Frizzle from Magic School Bus, basically. You got this amazing past of fighting robots, and now you're hung it up to help the kids. That's really cool.
I like origin story for Mrs. Frizzle. That's amazing.
No, that's because the bus now changes into a fighting robot,
That's
right?
right.
I mean,
This is the gritty reboot with the mechs and everything.
Does somebody needs this is our idea. Anybody want to make this happen? You can come talk to the three of us.
We take investments.
That's right.
So actually, what are one of your favorite moments of working with kids with this sort of thing?
So I have a class called Intro to Futurism where I teach critical thinking. I believe that before you get to the conversation about coding and programming and learning all these tools or else your future will be a disaster, you need to learn how to think, just how to ask the questions because we live in an information age. Kids don't actually need anyone to tell them information. They need someone to inspire them to learn what they need to learn. Yeah. So using the Socratic method, which is just asking a lot of questions, has lended itself to some amazing answers. So for an example, I'm like, hey class, could someone tell me what augmented reality is or what AR is? And to hear them try to figure out what the acronym is without knowing what it is, they'll be like, is it a round rings like Sonic or something? And I'm just like, no. And I'm like, all right, what is Sugar Gamers do? Anybody know what Sugar Gamers is? It's like games made out of candy. I'm just like, you guys. But it's really cute just to be immersed in this very youthful, imaginative, space where before adulthood has beat the childlike curiosity and amazement out of them, and they still have all of this energy to be creative and to be inspired, and it motivates me. I'm introverted naturally, so being around kids is probably the only group of people where I'm just like, I'm energized, I'm pumped. So it's a really amazing. It's just always amazing to work with kids, and then I know I have to keep doing it because every time I want to quit, because I have wanted to quit Sugar Gamers. Somebody's mom will be like, well, my daughter plays video games and I just never knew it had all of these intellectual merits and, thank you. Or I met a 17-year-old young black woman and she was like, I've never seen another black woman in this space before. And I'm just like, it's 2017. It's 2000, really? So I know that, the work that I'm doing, it feels very fulfilling and it feels very productive.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for doing what you do. Before we let you go, I did want to ask, in your understandably sparse spare time. What is
that? None of us know at all.
What games do you enjoy?
Tetris 99.
Yes.
Tetris 99 all day, every day. Mario Kart. I do like an immersive sim every now and then, so I still am playing Dishonored. I know it's an old game, but Dishonored, and I want Deus Ex to come out with another game so bad. It's one of my favorite games of all time. But I just try to play the games that's on the Switch because I'm always everywhere and doing all sorts of things. So Nintendo Switch is my jam.
It's so handy.
Oh,
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were a kid who got really addicted into playing Tetris, is that the Tetris 99 something I should avoid doing if I don't want to lose any more time?
Oh!
I mean,
Play
I like,
Tetris 99.
I like the competition. I want to see you get in there. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean,
None of you want me to sleep anymore.
I mean, join the club of insanity. Insomnia Insanity. That's going to be the next name of my organization for all the insomniacs that just want to add more to what they're already doing.
So many new ideas were born at this table today.
I know.
Copywriting all of them.
That's right. Well, Keisha, thank you so much for joining us. You've been great, and thank you for all you do. Let's give her a hand, everybody. Thank you.
Daniel Jun Kim. He is the founder of Pop Mythology, a cosplayer, and does a lot of philanthropy work with his geeky interests. So we're super excited to have him here. Daniel?
I have a very, very important question.
Uh-oh.
Is it too late to go to the bathroom? I just had to give my Captain America homage. Speaking of Captain America, can I get a close-up on this Captain America necktie, please?
I mean, that's a wonderful tie right there. In fact, I want to compliment you on the whole getup because it looks like you should be interviewing us. Like, I feel underdressed now. Yeah,
this is really sharp, I gotta say.
Oh, thank you. Now I got my cleric pin.
Ooh,
Oh,
fancy.
yes, and actually that is a perfect segue into this is how actually both Matt and I met you. The first time was I think both of us were at the Families Belong Together rally back last summer. Mm-hmm. And a couple of days after, I started seeing your photo floating around where you're in a t-shirt that says cleric, you're wearing sunglasses, and you have this big sign saying, "Heroes, I am your D&D cleric," and a huge list of supplies that you had.
That's you?
Our cameraman, Aaron Amendola, everybody. Yeah, that was super cool. You had tampons, you had USB charging, you had snacks. Like, that was super cool. And then we found out you lived in Chicago, and I think Matt and I were like, oh my God, he lives here.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, usually my idea ends at just giving people deodorant at conventions and that sort of thing. But you took it a step farther into caring for folks, and I appreciate that. Thank you for doing that.
Deodorant is important.
Yes, definitely, yes.
So what inspired you to do that at that protest?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think to fully answer it, I'd have to talk a little bit about my writing, which is kind of like the foundation of it. So I have this blog called Pop Mythology, as you mentioned, and on this blog I have a column called Hero Wisdom. And what I do on this column is I use pop culture as a tool to talk about certain ideas from philosophy, primarily Eastern philosophy, religion from a comparative perspective, psychology, and some related areas, and throwing in a lot of my own ideas into the mix in ways that I hope are like fun and accessible. And so one theme that I keep going back to again and again and again is this idea of everyday heroism, right? Because in the past, we used to deify our heroes, and we associated heroism with larger than life, epic achievements and actions. And I'm a big believer in the idea of small everyday heroism. Because I feel that in our current day, with the kinds of problems that we're facing and the crises, it'll take nothing less than more and more people answering the call of heroism. But to do that, I feel like we have to really bring the whole idea of heroism kind of down to earth on a more pragmatic, feasible, and doable level, so that people like you and me can go out there and answer the call, so to speak, right? So I'm a big believer in small everyday heroism, and I like to tell people, don't ever underestimate the power and the effects of small local actions. And I feel like a good example of that is the whole cleric photo and that whole project. And to bring that back around and answer the question of how I came upon the idea was, it was at a time when I was sensing what I perceived to be kind of widespread burnout on the part of a lot of people who care deeply about what was going on in our society. And totally understandable, right? Because it's we have this 24-hour news cycle, we have social media, so our senses and our emotions are under constant assault. So it's only natural that people burn out. So I was thinking about that, and I was like, what could I do to kind of lift people's spirits and rejuvenate them, those who were feeling burnt out. And it just kind of occurred to me that In D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, tabletop role-playing game for those who might not be familiar, the character class of the cleric, that's exactly what they do, right? So you have like your party, and then you go on adventures, fight monsters, some people get wounded, and the cleric is the healer. So, like, obviously I couldn't do that literally. I couldn't like lay hands on you and stop your bleeding or something like that. But
Are you sure?
yeah, but maybe I should try. But if you're feeling hungry or hangry, like activism is hard work, I can give you a granola bar.
Hey.
I can raise your blood sugar and then refill your health meter that way. So, when I got the idea, I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. And I totally wasn't expecting the response. I thought maybe a few people at the protest march would look at my sign, kind of like smile or laugh. But even that I felt was important because it'd be like an emotional boost to people as well as, a blood sugar boost. So I was blown away by the response, and it was definitely very encouraging.
That's amazing, Daniel. It's like you figured out how to actually level up in real life.
Actually, speaking of leveling up, so I've been thinking about how to up my cleric game, right?
Oh.
And I really want to, I'm really interested in this whole idea of blurring fantasy with reality, like blurring the lines increasingly.
Okay.
And so my quest to increasingly become like a literal cleric in real life, like an actual cleric, I recently applied and was accepted to a program at the Claremont School of Theology. So I was offered a full tuition
wow.
scholarship. Yeah, so in the beginning of fall.
Yay!
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will soon hopefully be a real actual cleric.
That's awesome. Like, I know one of your most recent projects is that you actually ran a GoFundMe to send kids who are waiting to be adopted to go see an early screening of Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it was, you actually hit your goal pretty quickly, right?
We did hit our goal pretty quickly, yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So that GoFundMe was actually part of a larger overarching project that I call the Spider Army Project. And the whole idea for that was inspired by the Spider-Verse comics and movie. And I felt like the timing was right for it because there's never been a better time to be a Spider-Man fan. Like and by Spider-Man I mean not just Peter Parker, but like all the other Spider characters by extension. Miles Morales, Spider-Gwen. It's peak Spider-Man season or period.
Definitely.
Yeah, because like last year we had the PS4 game.
Oh, that wonderful game, yeah.
Into the Spider-Verse came out, blew everyone away, won an Oscar.
Yes.
In July we're getting another MCU Spider-Man movie.
Can't wait for
And
that.
if you're a comics reader, I think there are like 5 or 6 titles right now oriented around spider characters, maybe more. So it's really a hot time for spider characters. And I thought, okay, why not try to sort of ride that popularity, that wave of popularity with the Spider Army Project. And it's really playing on that idea, again, of like in the movie that anyone can wear the mask, anyone can be Spider-Man. And by extension, anyone can be a hero, which is that theme I was talking about earlier. That I often like to write about. So I thought, okay, well, the movie symbolizes that beautifully with like these 6 different characters, spider characters from alternate universes. But actually, the comics take that even further. There are like dozens and dozens of spider characters of every imaginable shape and size and color.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I thought, wouldn't it be cool to have like a real life spider army where we're all imagining that we're different spiders from different universes and we're coming together to fight like a common threat or a common evil. And you don't even have to be like a cosplayer. You can wear an actual full-blown costume if you want to, but I tell people like, don't be intimidated by that. Just put on like a paper, literally a plastic Spidey mask.
If you put on a paper bag, that's an actual spider.
And draw like, yeah.
Because he joined the Fantastic Four briefly, as I'm sure you know, and he had on a brown paper bag on his head.
Right.
Instant
Wait,
costume.
seriously?
Oh yeah, he was the bombastic bag man. I'm a nerd. You knew this when you signed up. It's
That is
fine.
impressive.
Yeah.
So with all, you clearly love comics, you love Spider-Man. As we are closing things out, what is your current favorite comic that you like reading right now?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I would have to say, actually, in all honesty, my current favorite comic isn't a superhero title. It's a comic from Image Comics. Image Comics / Netflix / Miller World.
Okay.
So it's by Mark Miller, Oliver Coipel. It's called The Magic Order. A brilliant kind of like adult version of Harry Potter. So it's fantasy and magic. There's some superhero elements in there, I guess, but it's just a fabulous, well-done story of like a magic school and this whole secret of magic order. So that's my favorite comic. It's not a superhero comic, but I am going back actually rereading a lot of old classic stuff. Like I just reread Kraven's Last Hunt, which is it's classic. It's great. Going back and reading some of the early Silk titles.
Oh yeah, and they're actually making a movie of Silk. That's going to be one of the next things I think they're up for, the next Spider-Verse movie.
Yeah, that's the rumor, or that's what people are saying. Well, I guess we'll see about that. I'm hoping, because I am a fan. So,
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for coming and talking to us, Daniel. This is great.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Don Xiana Moon, everybody. that is our show. We would like to thank our guests, Keisha Howard, Daniel June Kim, and Dawn Xiana Moon for being here. Special thanks to Dawn for her wonderful musical performance. And we would have to thank our crew this wouldn't have happened without them. We had no idea what we're doing.
Definitely. Big thanks to the Cards Against Humanity Theater and Morgan specifically for helping us out. Thank you to Aaron Amendola. Thank you to Chris Chapin. You guys are just the best, learning everything as we go along, of course.
I want to thank my husband Jesse for helping out getting everybody corralled and into the theater. And we have to thank Dee for being her awesome Risnaculous self.
Definitely. And last but not least, we have to thank our audience. Thank you guys for coming to the show.
Audience was awesome. Thank you to our Kickstarter backers from year 5. None of this would have happened without you. On behalf of the entire Uncanny crew, Space Unicorns, you all rock.